President Bush flew Air Force One to Chicago today and held a pep rally for commercial air travel, trying to reassure a public still shaken by the terror attacks that it is safe to fly. The president formally announced his plan for increased air travel security. CBS's John Roberts has details.
With a mix of patriotism and promotion, President Bush today sought to shore up the airline industry, hit hard by the ongoing terrorist threat.
When they struck, they wanted to create an atmosphere of fear. And one of the great goals of this nation's war is to restore public confidence in the airline industry.
To instill that confidence, Mr. Bush today laid out a new series of federal measures to increase airline safety, including federal grants to upgrade aircraft with stronger cockpit doors, a video system so pilots can keep an eye on the passenger cabin, and flight data transponders that can't be turned off, as terrorists did to blind air traffic controllers. The president would also dramatically increase the number of undercover air marshals, though it's unlikely the numbers would be enough for marshals to fly on every flight. And Mr. Bush is proposing federal oversight for training and supervision of security personnel. There would be a uniformed officer at every checkpoint, though the actual job of passenger screening would still be contracted out to private companies. It's that last point that bothers many flyers, who believe the government should take over the whole system.
I feel more secure when the federal government is involved in especially the screening process. Oh, yeah. Because then you know that, it's not up to the airlines to fund everything.
The airlines need to win back consumer confidence. Since the attacks, flights have dropped by 1/5, passenger loads by as much as 2/3. The ripple effect through the economy has been devastating. But if the president leaves responsibility for oversight of security with the FAA, as he might, critics say he will do little to ease passenger anxieties.
What we're doing right now is taking tweezers away from people on the basis that some guy living in a cave in Afghanistan is scaring us to death. We need to get confidence back, and that means having the feds run this show and someone other than the FAA.
President Bush today also urged state governors to call up as many as 5,000 National Guard troops to watch over airport security checkpoints until the new measures go through Congress. But Mr. Bush today had nothing for the thousands of airline and aerospace workers who have been laid off in the wake of the attacks, leaving that matter for another day. Dan?
Chief White House Correspondent John Roberts. Members of Congress are hearing from their constituents about their fear of flying, and they heard the president's proposed remedies today. Is Congress satisfied? CBS's Bob Schieffer's on Capitol Hill tonight with the real deal. Bob?
Dan, good start, but not nearly enough is the way to sum up the congressional reaction. Most of the Democrats here and a good number of Republicans say it is simply not enough to have the federal government supervise the minimum wage workers who inspect baggage now. They say that must be taken over by the federal government. Jim Oberstar, congressman from Minnesota, who's very influential on aviation matters here, says simply we don't contract out the duties of the Army. We can't contract out this. So there will be a lot of debate about that. Democrats also feel that since the airlines got $5 billion in emergency aid, something must also be done for the airline employees who got laid off. But what everyone here agrees on is that security can no longer be left to the airlines who've been trying to do it on the cheap, sometimes to the point of even opposing background checks on security workers because they cost money. Dan?
Chief Washington Correspondent Bob Schieffer.